Welcome to the Captain's Run. If you're listening belatedly, you can subscribe to the Captain's Run on Apple and Spotify. Obviously, you can download the app. Follow us on Instagram at SEN League. Also, Captain's Run NRL on Twitter. And also, we're on TikTok as well, which is really interesting. Hopefully, one day we'll get the great Smithy on there on TikTok to get amongst it. But Smithy,
We are
mate, how you
hundreds, Kempy. I cannot dance to save my own life, so that will not be happening. I apologise. I apologise, guys.
You're a media personality now, mate. You
Oh,
need to
please.
Oh, how good.
What's been happening, mate? Another great weekend of footy.
Mate.
Huge game, of course, up here in Suncorp Stadium. 51,500, if you don't mind, for the Battle of Brizzy. The battle, it was coined several different names. The Bennett Battle, I think, was named as well. But what a game. What a game. It took a big effort from Cantoni Stags, of course, to seal the victory for the Broncos. You would have been a very happy man watching that one. But the results over the weekend, it's good footy. Warriors are winning.
Mate. Yes.
Packed house at Auckland. It's all happening.
Top four.
It's all
you got
happening.
Manly. You got, I think, Dolphins are still top four. Bronco. Like the top four is completely different to last year at this stage. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. But the biggest news overnight nearly blew me socks off, Smithy. Nearly blew me socks off. Jack Wighton set to test the open market. Wighton has informed the Raiders he is placing himself on the market. Reports suggest the Dolphins, Tigers and Eels have emerged as the biggest threat to Canberra's hopes of keeping Wighton. Wighton has an option in his contract for 2024 that he has to take up by round 10. Raiders CEO Don Furner, Jack is quite within his rights to test the market. He's been incredibly loyal to us for 14 seasons. He's never once gone out and tested the market. He has our full support, and he knows we're going to do everything we can to keep him and extend him, Smithy. What do you reckon about it? Because this isn't just a normal player that, I guess has had a squeaky clean career and business is business. There's been quite a bit of loyalty shown between both parties, Wighton and the Raiders. What do you reckon about this whole situation?
Well, he's a Raiders person through and through, isn't he? Don Furner's come out and said, he's been with us for 14 seasons. He's 30 years old this year, so that takes him back to, 16-year-old. They recruited him. He's always extended before coming off contract or just stayed loyal with the Raiders. I can understand him going out and testing the market right now just to see where he's at. He's a representative player. He's an out-and-out representative player. Played Origin last year, was New South Wales' best player, in my opinion, in Game 1. He didn't feature after that, though, Game 2 and 3. He's represented Australia. He's just one of the real competitors, and he's just got individual brilliance about him. And he's a game winner too. Like the style of footy that he plays, he's one person that when he's on your team, you feel confident. You feel more confident when he's playing, and he's running out beside you. So, it's concerning for Raiders because he's been their rock over the last decade. And you see, he won the Dally M only a few years ago, voted the best player in the competition. Was a big reason why they went all the way to the grand final against the Roosters and fell short in that game. But yeah, this will be interesting to see actually what happens here. Whether someone snaps him up. I think there'll be a handful of clubs out there that'll be pretty keen to acquire his services.
Oh, mate, absolutely. Jackie Wighton is this really interesting player where, he's not the best in his position, or I'd even go as far as he's not even probably top 3 in his position. Yet, if you're picking a top 17, he has to be in that squad in the NRL.
Yeah.
He's just a good footy player wherever he plays.
Kempy, I'll tell you the thing about Jack Wighton and what will help him being on the open market is his versatility. So he's playing 6 at the moment, but quite easily you can put a number 1 jersey on him. You can put a number 3 or a number 4 jersey on him, or you can chuck him at 13. He's a big body. He plays a physical style of footy. So any one of those positions, like you said, he's going to find himself in the best 17. Any club that Jack Wighton went to right now, he'd be in the starting 13 side somewhere. You'd find a position for him somewhere. So I think, Not sure where everyone's at next year, like with all the clubs with their salary cap space and whatnot. Who knows? He might end up at the Roosters. Tommy's got a smile on his face. Our producer Tommy just had a little chuckle. Well, that's right. Like Sua'ali'i, he's gone, so there's a little bit of room there for him. But in all seriousness, I highly doubt he'll go there. With the news developing about like Clint Gutherson as well, does he end up at Parramatta? Yeah, can they fit him at Parramatta, Kempy?
I love the idea because him at Para changes that. Like that changes everything for the Eels. I will say, it's a very unique situation because, and it's a lot of ifs and certain things. Like for example, if the Raiders are already offering him $1.1 million a year to stay, and let's just say he hasn't been on unders his whole career, I do understand Raiders fans that maybe like the Raiders have been super loyal to Jackie Wighton, super loyal, because the superstar we see today isn't the superstar 5 years ago. They stayed loyal even when he wasn't top tier Australian. Yeah,
he wasn't in the elite group of players. No,
he wasn't in the elite group of players. So they're the kind of players that when they stuff up, a lot of clubs just move them on because they're like, we're not going to have a player that's not an Origin player that we need to keep do things off the field. And so let's assume that the Raiders are offering him 1.1 a year, and let's assume that he hasn't been on unders his whole career. I do think, if it's about money, some things are more important than money. Your life, look, I've never been on $1.1 million, but I don't think his life's going to change that much when he's on 1.1 compared to $1.3 million.
No.
Now, if it's about winning a premiership, then I think it changes the game entirely because I really, and this is no knock on the Raiders, but I don't think they're in a premiership window right now. I don't see them as a squad that in the next year or two could win a comp. And so if it's about that, then I understand his willingness to test the market. If it's about money, I think that there's some things that are bigger than money, and the club has shown loyalty to him, and he's repaid that with incredibly good footy, and he's turned his life around. I think that this is a moment where maybe if they are offering him over $1 million, that he should try to repay that loyalty the club has shown him.
Yeah. Mate, it's a fair point because, let's be fair, there's been a couple of indiscretions off the field for Jack across his career, particularly early on, right? Which, he's not the Lone Ranger. There's, young people make, stuff ups all the time, but they did stick by him, and we've seen other cases where clubs are just, they don't want any part of that type of behaviour away from the footy field, and so they move them on. They move players on, but they stuck by Jack. They seen something in him. They thought they could work with him and improve him as a person, which they have. So I guess, from a hardcore Raiders fan point of view, they would probably have an expectation on Jack to repay the club in that sense, to say, mate, we've stuck with you. On top of that, we've paid you handsomely along the way, particularly in the back end of your career. Like if there's an opportunity for you to still make $1 million here, it'd be nice if you could, stick by our club and our fans and sign on for a further whatever years it's going to be, 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, who knows. But I guess, he's a type of guy for me. I don't know Jack well. I've met him a few times, but I don't know him well. But he looks like a guy who's hungry to win and as you mentioned, win a premiership. If he sees an opportunity elsewhere where he feels as though he's got a greater chance to do that, then that's probably what he will do. Because I do agree with you as well, Kempy. I don't, we can't see into the future, so who knows what's going to happen. But from what we've seen in the first month of this season, I don't think they're going to be challenging for a premiership this year, maybe even next year. Because if you do look at their squad, they do have a couple of guys sort of coming towards the end of their career, which doesn't help as well. So they'll be starting to look at bringing some new guys through, some younger guys through in the next couple at least. So that might be the reason for him to go out and say, look, I just want to see what's out there. Like, what opportunities are there for me outside of re-signing and extending at the Raiders?
I will say, if he does, let's say, worst case scenario for Raiders fans, if he does decide to leave the club, they are in a tough spot because he's almost like Ben Hunt is to the Dragons, Jackie Wighton is to the Raiders, because that team is built around Jackie Wighton. Now, let's talk about potential suitors. they're really interesting. Now, I will say, from a purely managerial perspective of trying to get your player as a professional athlete the best deal possible, the timing of this could not be any better.
Yep.
Eels come out and say they need a strike outside back that can essentially play vaguely. It's like kind of fullback, but not really, and I don't even know what's going on. So they come out and say that, and you go, all right, sweet. Then the Dolphins didn't land a marquee player.
Yes.
Tigers are obviously always on the hunt for a player. You know, like, I think he would kill it at the Eels. Imagine him outside Dylan Brown. Imagine Dylan Brown and Jackie Wighton running at you all day.
Combining. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, you know, like I said, like you pair him up with most halves. Like, let's just say he's going to go to another club outside of Canberra and play in the centres. Like, you pair him up with some of these halves.
Oh.
Like, wow, like it's crazy to think the ability that and some of the best games that I've seen Jack Wighton play, it hasn't been at 6 or at 1. It's been in the centres.
Yeah.
It's been in the centres. Like, he's played a couple of games there in Origin level and just absolutely pummeled the Maroons in that position and just, you know, given them nightmares, you know, with his, you know, tough carries, his strong defence, you know, like his kick chase game is one of the best in the NRL.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's really interesting to see where he may end up, particularly with, you know, like teams like the Dolphins and Eels. They've got a little bit of cash to spend.
Yes.
We're hearing next year, so
Yes.
be interesting to see if one or both of those teams are in a position to land him.
Imagine the level he could go to under Wayne Bennett. Like, the Dolphins in the first few weeks, if there's a team that's typified what Jackie Whiten's all about, it's been the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he would slot straight in.
Imagine this though. Like, let's just put on our fantasy hats for a little bit here. Imagine if the Roosters got him.
Oh, mate.
Just imagine.
Might be the greatest backline.
Well, because at the moment, like, Sua'ali'i's playing in the centres. Yep. Although we do know he's got another, you know, season to go. He's not going over to rugby until 25. But the other centre, like, you look at the other centre this week, and I know they've got Joey Manu there, but Drew Hutchinson's playing. They could bring Jackie Wighton over, put him in the centres, and put Sua'ali'i on the wing. Imagine that for a back line.
Oh, my God.
Tedesco, Tupou, Sua'ali'i, Joey Manu, and Wighton.
And Dom Young is back up.
Dom Young's going as well.
Yeah.
Dom Young and the Reggies.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like craziness.
Would not put it past them.
Craziness.
Yeah, so it is interesting. I would love to know the details behind it. I would love to know, is it about a premiership? Is it about money? Because either way, like, I'm always of the mind, like, if it's about money, that's fine. Like, you are a commodity.
Yeah, that's right.
You're banging your body up.
Yep.
You're going to have to live with the consequences of what you've done for the last 10 years. So you may as well get paid for it.
Yeah, and he's as I mentioned, matey, like, he's 30 this year. He's on the back end of his career, right? So he's been playing for over a decade. Yeah. He's got, you know, if he stays healthy and his form is good enough to stay in the NRL, let's just say he's got another 5, 6 years, 7 years. That's all that's left. So, like, you can't knock someone for looking to earn as much as they can in the small space of time they've got left in a job that can pay well if you're playing up to that standard.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how, you know, Ricky and I guess Jackie have such a good relationship. Be interesting to see how that kind of all plays out. I'm sure Ricky understands. He's been a player. He gets it. But we're going to head to a break. After the break, we've got plenty to talk about with Eels search for their X Factor replacement. One of the strangest stories of the year, in my opinion, and we'll get to it after the break. We've got some injuries that are going to get through. Tamaito Martin, Kurt Mann, Oregon Kofusi, Sonny Luke, all out with a concussion. Tolu Kola, MCL injury, expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Sean O'Sullivan, torn pec, 10 to 12 weeks. Tessie New, 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury, MCL. Murray Tuolangi, 4 to 6 weeks, knee. Shibasaki, hamstring, 2 to 3 weeks. James Tarmow, foot. Kieran Foran, calf, 2 to 3 weeks. AJ Brimson, hamstring, 1 month. And Farmanu Brown, dislocated elbow. Victor School and Sports Club Supply, supplying school and sports throughout Australia, visit sports.com.au. Now, Smithy, the Eels have come out. Well, they haven't come out, but it's basically been confirmed because we've got some audio from Gutho, but they've basically said they're kind of looking for an X-Factor fullback, but not really, and I don't know what's going on. But we've actually got audio from Gutho.
It was just me and Brad. We just had a conversation, and we've got 3 spots there to fill in our top 30, and we were just sort of going back and forth with what we need and where we sort of want to go in the next few years this season as well. And I just said, let's just look at everyone. And I'm there to win games. I've always said I just want to win. I just love playing footy and want to win games. And obviously this come out the last, 24 hours, and it's sort of, I think it's been blown out of proportion, to be honest.
There he is, the great Gutho, handling it like an absolute pro. I will say, then, obviously Gutho will be telling the truth. How's that getting to the media then?
Yeah.
How does that promote the sanctity of coach-player relationship, coach-captain relationship, that gets into the media?
I don't know. It's a bit like the Dragons talk with Hook about his future and him having to reapply for his job. That's what we spoke about last week. Like this news, like breaking into the public. It's a bit weird, but. Yeah, it's a strange one, mate. It's a really strange one. Gutho there just saying that there is a couple of spots in their top squad. I think he was referring to this year, not just moving forward. Like there's a couple of spots still left on their squad. Was it this year? So potentially they could go out and sign one of these players for this season. I think it has to be prior to it's a certain date. It's a cutoff. I think they have to have their squads finalised by, but. They could possibly go out and sign this X Factor or game breaker player as they've coined it. Just a strange one though, because when you look at Gutho and the way that he plays every week, every single week, I don't understand. Like let's just say it's a fullback that comes off the bench as a game breaker. What are they going to do then with Clint? Does he then move to a different position? Does he come from the field? Because I just don't know whether that would be a good move for the Parramatta side. Now, that's just outsider looking in. Like this is, we're not with the team every day and we're not involved in the conversations like Gutho just spoke about with he and Brad sat down and spoke about where the team needs to move to over the next little period. But just going off watching them as a football side and the influence that he has on that footy team, I just don't know whether it would be the right move, bringing someone off the bench, then changing Gutho's role in the team to a different position or taking him off the field altogether. I can't see how that could be a positive move for Parramatta.
Yeah, I totally agree. And okay, let's say that it's been blown out of proportion. Come out and back your player. Come out and say, we aren't looking for a fullback. We're looking for an outside back because we've got 3 places in our... why is Gutho the one run and cover for this situation? Why isn't the club coming out? You really think, in my opinion, Craig Bellamy, Wayne Bennett, Trent Robson, if this same kind of strange story came out, they wouldn't come out and back their player. Look what happened with the Luke Keary, Mitchell Moses rumour a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Immediately the next day, Roosters came out and said, absolutely not. We are happy with Keary and we're not looking to bring anyone in. And so this is a situation where repay Gutho as a club and back him and say, we're not looking for another fullback. We're looking for an explosive outside back.
Yeah. Did we have audio from the coach, like what his thoughts were on that whole situation?
We do.
If we did, we might get a...
Brad, is it the kind of situation where Gutho could start fullback, someone comes on from the bench and he pushes to the centres?
Well, it depends who you get, so there's a lot of what ifs, but like I said, they want to be a really good fullback for us to be replacing Clint Gutherson at fullback. If Gutho was to go down, who replaces him? At stages last year and probably at the back end of the year, Gutho had a broken hand that no one knew about. Gutho is open to anything that makes the team better, but it'd be very hard to get a fullback that's better than him.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go.
Why?
Well, that's exactly what we just spoke about. Yeah. It's going to be very hard to find a fullback to replace Gutho, or find a fullback that's better than him. So you're not going to take Gutho from the one jersey and replace him with someone that's not as good. So I don't know what this whole sort of chat is about.
I mean, I'd go even further. And say, in a perfect world, I'd love Brad Arthur to come in and say, no, Gutho's our fullback. We wouldn't want anyone else in the world to be our fullback.
Yeah.
He's our captain. We were in a grand final last year. Look at like last year, Ivan Cleary came out and said, Dylan Edwards to us is the best fullback in the competition. Yeah. Anyone on the market, we would keep Dylan Edwards.
Yes.
Are you telling me Dylan Edwards is that much better than Gutho? I know he's in a career best form, period. But anyway, I just think they got to back Gutho there. I don't like this whole speculation. It wouldn't make Gutho feel good.
No.
At all.
Skipper as well.
He's a skipper of the club. They were in a grand final last year.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Anyway, we're going to head to a break. Sorry, Smithy, I'm getting passionate here.
You're good. That's what it's all about, mate. We love our footy. Love our footy, like all our listeners.
100%. So make sure to text in 0457 736 736. We're going to head to a break. After the break, we've got plenty of news and text to get to. We'll see you there. Welcome back to the Captain's Run, and I am extremely excited to let everyone know we have the big fella, Tyson Frizell, a.k.a. Dwayne Johnson, on the line.
The Rock.
He's there, mate.
How are you, lads?
Mate, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. I mean, how's the body after the weekend? A gutsy performance. How's the body pulled up?
Yeah, body's not too bad. It's first 80-minute game for myself to knock out at home. But, yeah, feel pretty good after a tough win at home. It's been a while since we've got a good win at home, so it was nice to knock that out.
Hey, Frizz, Smithy here. Well done on your game coming back from ankle injury. As you said, mate, it was a good performance at home. Good to get a win in front of the faithful, 24-14 over the Raiders. Mate, you had one try, 150 running metres, a line break, a tackle break. Mate, you still got it. How you feeling? How you feeling this part of your career, mate? Like, you know, you've had a couple of serious injuries, and but how are you feeling now at sort of just over 30 years of age?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, to be honest. It's the first year that I've had a full pre-season under my belt, so I guess that helped. And I guess the longer you play, you sort of know how to manage your body a lot more. And I guess the support staff and the performance staff are pretty good at looking after you. But mate, I'm feeling as good as ever, and hopefully the body holds up through the year. It does get knocked about towards the back end, but at this stage the mind's fresh as well, which also helps, and the body usually follows.
Now, it's been, I guess, almost a crash course with Lockie Miller at the back there. He came maybe 1 week before the season started. Being an edge-back rower, working with your fullback's really important, and he played probably his best game since coming to the NRL on the weekend. How is that, I guess, partnership developing, and also your partnership with Hastings as well? How's that all coming together?
Yeah, it's been good. It has been a bit of a process, also with KP slotting in the air, and then sort of the reshuffle of the spine. But yeah, you can say that on the weekend was probably our best that our spine really worked together, and it's something that's probably been slowly progressing even from the trials up until now. So it's definitely something for us as edges, and the spine is just getting more game time under each other's belt, and with short turnarounds and stuff, it's a bit hard, but hey, everyone's going through it at the same time with injuries and stuff like that. But hopefully we can continue the way we've been going. It's still got a long way to go, but hopefully, it can start coming together.
Frizz, you've been at 3 clubs. You've been at the Sharkies, Dragons, and now the Knights. Experienced, different coaches, and they've all got different styles of the way they coach. How do you find Adam O'Brien at Newcastle?
I do, mate. I really enjoy it. I like what he's about, and we probably had a bit to do with him down in Melbourne, but he's a very direct kind of coach, and knows what he wants to do. He's very defensive based, and it's something that we really need at the club, and we haven't been too good with it in the past, but I feel like we're heading in the right direction. We're still a long way from where we want to be as a club and as a playing group, but we're getting the fundamentals right and getting the basics of the game right these first few rounds. We haven't got the results that we wanted, but we're laying a foundation there that we want to be known for, and what do we want to do as a team, and all the flashy plays and all that stuff will come towards the back in the end. But the teams play high, they tackle well, they get to their kick, and all the little stuff, and we're trying to base our game on that early stages of the year with all the combinations happening. But hopefully we can head in the right direction toward the back end.
And Kempy, Frizz, he mentioned, I know a little bit about Adam. He spent some time at the Melbourne Storm in the sort of lower grades and then assistant coach. And I tell you what, he has got a good blow up in him. He learned from the best, Craig Bellamy. Have you seen any decent sprays, Frizz, in your time there with Adam, or have you been on the end of one?
Oh, lucky enough, I haven't been on the end of one, but mate, there's been some good ones, especially in pre-season. I think my first year here, mate, I looked to one of the assistant coaches and I said, wow, that was a good one. Mate, he doesn't shy away from, the effort stuff, and they're probably the things that he really blows up about. And, it's not so much the technical and the shape and stuff like that. It's more effort-based stuff. So he's really, really pushing on that, which is something that you need. And sometimes you can't help but giggle.
Now, obviously Kalen Ponga, he's gone over to Canada. I'm not sure if he's back yet. It's such a delicate situation for a team because you've got your mate first, you got your teammate first, then you've got the kind of results after that. What has kind of been, I guess, what you can talk about, the talk internally in regards to supporting KP, and obviously you want him back, he's an absolute superstar, but also understanding that you've got footy matches to win week in, week out?
Yeah, I think it's a real important, first and foremost, is for him to go away, get himself right, make sure he's comfortable in what he's doing. It is, at the end of the day, it's a game of footy, and if his health's at risk or anything like that, we want him to make the most informed decision as he can. But in saying that, we do need games to win, but the back end of the year he might not be there, someone might get injured, so it's good for us to have these players playing in these positions while one of our best players isn't playing. So I only feel like it's only going to help us down in the long run, but you always want out your best players playing. But for us as a mate, on those side of things, we just want him to be as happy and healthy as he is, so he can come back and play good footy for us.
And young Bradman Best, the big fella. Now I know he's a team favourite. He burst onto the scene and heaps of raps and even Origin smoky chat. And then he's suffered a few injuries and he's struggled a little bit, but now he's come back and he's actually played really well on the weekend. As a senior player, what do you do to get around a bloke like Bradman Best?
To be honest, it's all self-motivated for him, and I think he come into pre-season this year pretty early and probably come back as fit as he's ever been. I think everyone says that they go into pre-season, they're their best pre-season, but I think he dropped about 5 kilos and come into pre-season before he even started, ready to go. And a credit to him, like he knew that the sky's the limit for him in where he wants to be as a footy player, and he started that off before even coming to training. So it's a credit to him. He's starting to reap the rewards, but it's just, hopefully he can stay injury-free and keep playing some good footy for us, because we know how much of a talent he is.
Now, mate, just back to yourself. You're off contract at the end of this year, turning 22 in October. What's plans for the future? Like, do you want to? You feel like you can still go on and still play another couple of years, or have you started thinking about maybe finishing up soon? Or, mate, looking at you the way you're going at the moment, and you said just before you're feeling particularly mentally fresh, and you've had a good preparation for this year that you go on. What's your thoughts at the moment?
How old were you when you finished up training?
Mate, I was about 48.
Mate, I feel like personally, I feel like I still have a lot of footy left in me, and I said as soon as the mind starts to wander and question whether I'm, fit enough or good enough to play footy, I'll park it. But at this stage, I'm still looking to play a few more years of footy, and feel like I still got it in me to be able to perform at the highest level. And like I said, I got the mind and the drive to want to compete and turn up to training every day. So hopefully I can sort out contract stuff sooner rather than later. But everything will unfold, and hopefully it'll happen for a reason.
Now, are you on Tyson Gamble's side of the field, or is it on Hastings' side of the field?
Oh, mate, to be honest, I don't know what they do. They stop and change throughout the game, and I mean, getting stuck next to both of them. But at this stage, yeah, it's next to Jacko.
Okay, because I was going to say, you got to have to learn to throw him, bro. Because Tyson Campbell's a pest, and you got to protect him.
Oh, we did. That did get mentioned this week. There's a couple big boys for Manly, so you might be hiding behind a few of the back rollers, I think.
And, mate, before I let you go, what's the body fat percentage at the moment? Because you're looking rigged up.
Ripped.
That's enough there, Kempy, all right? This is going to make you blush, mate.
Mate, Kempy, I remember we had a little Mel put on a little trip before the World Cup in 17. Was it 17, Frizz? I think he put on this little trip over to Fiji for a warm-up game. Is that right? Was it 17?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going over to Fiji. The boys got a warm-up game. The old fella, the captain, he's got the weekend off, so I'm just relaxing and whatnot. Anyway, we get out to the pool. All the boys get out the pool. Anyway, I'm thinking, I might go for a dip, like get ready to take the gear off. Mate, Frizz turns up, rips the shirt off, and I just went, I might just go for a walk, fellas. It's a G-up. What a rig.
Yeah, good. He just happened to have baby oil on too. Refoil. He did a refoil. Mate, Frizz, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Good luck for this year, and hopefully you can sort out the contract stuff because showed on the weekend. Still got plenty to offer.
Cheers, boys. Appreciate the chat.
Good on you, mate. Good luck.
There he is, the great Frizz. Really appreciate him coming on, and yeah, he was outstanding on the weekend. And it wasn't just his attack that was outstanding. I don't think he missed a single tackle. So important to that side. Yeah. So important to that side. Now we're going to head to a break. After the break, we've got 1,000 texts to get to. We haven't got too many texts so far this week, this episode, so we're going to get to a bunch of texts. Plus, we've got all the latest news and previewing the next round. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Thanks for the SEN app. Download it today for free in the App Store. Listen anywhere, anytime. This is the best hands thanks to Schnitz. Smithy, what do we got this week, mate?
Snitties. How good are Snitties? And I've just got the thumbs up from our producer. It's on its way, Kempy.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long time coming. I can smell it.
Seriously, I'm looking for it right now.
Golden Schnitties from Schnitz. How good.
Oh, wow.
Great sponsors of the show. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, on to our best hands. 1 point this week, Api Coruscant. Again, out there trying his best for the Tigers. Is the grounding of the ball for his try for his own kick against the Storm. They put up a brave effort. Took a little bit to get going against Melbourne, who improved from last week's effort against the Titans, but it was a great solo effort by Appy.
Do you reckon Bellyache would have been slightly upset with that one, or
just a little bit? I think so, just a little bit. Yeah, they were in a good position. They just let that one. It was just soft, a little bit of soft defence, which he doesn't like, particularly. But Appy 1 point, 2 points to Cody Walk. Did you see this? Did you see this try? The one-handed grounding right before I was watching this live, right? I mean, I was sitting at home watching this, and I was like, "Oh no, what are we looking at here? Like, the ball's dead."
Yeah,
he's put it down on the other side of the try line. Like, what are we? The dead ball line. What are we looking at? Next minute, slow-mo replays. He's got it down in half an inch.
Oh man,
half an inch. You could just see that little bit of grass, that little bit of green between the ball and the dead ball line. Don't know how he got it down before it went dead. That was obviously against the Manly Seagulls. 2 points to Cody. And the 3 points, well, it's to a man on the opposition side. Hamoli Olakawatu, the one-handed catch to score a try against the Rabbits, of course. Back rowers and scoring these tries. It's just...
Did he used to be like this?
I don't know. He's just exploded.
It's like Minai, Olakawatu. Like, it's almost a prerequisite now that you've got to be able to...
Yeah, chase kicks and... But they're, like, back rowers. The role has changed so much over the years now. Like, used to have back rowers like Trevor Gilmeister.
Yeah.
Sort of those, shorter, hard-hitting, work-all-day type of back rowers, which we still have, but now we're starting to get into those taller players that have a bit of athleticism. They can get up in the air. They can compete for kicks. And it's a real target zone, Kempy, for kickers now, because if you think about the matchup, the back rowers, their opposite player in the defensive line is the half. So more times than not, 99 times out of 100, they're going to have a few inches, maybe a couple of foot above the opposition player. So already they're at an advantage. But that was a wonderful try. 3 points to Hamoli Olakwatu. He is going from strength to strength. They've got a good back row, the Manly Seagulls. Probably why they're going pretty good at the moment. But they were my 3 votes.
You know what I yelled when he scored that? Holy Hamoli. Oh, yeah, that's what I mean best. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all day.
Where's the drums, Tom?
Oh, Tommy, he wasn't ready for that one.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, I'm in the wrong segment. I thought I was in the Holy Schnitz segment. Now, Schnitz bite into golden, delicious, handcrafted jokes and snitchels. After the break, we'll wrap up the first hour. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We got some texts here. Here's a text from Edwards. This is text from Chock in Calderwood. Hey, boys, Kempy. This is a classic media beat-up on Para involving Gutho and acquiring X Factor. BA was completely upfront yesterday and couldn't have put it to bed any simpler. What team isn't looking to improve their squad every chance they get? Of course, Panthers would come out and claim they wouldn't swap Edwards. They won the comp. Rant over love hearts. I appreciate the love hearts. I respect where you're coming from, Chock. I totally do. But there's a difference between saying we want to improve our roster and saying that we may take a fullback that's on the market.
Quick one for you before the break. Afternoon, Kempy and Goat. What about the Jack White situation? Do you reckon you could go to the Broncos and replace Herbie Farnworth? They're losing Herbie and they're losing Flegler. His wife's from Brizzy. He's a fisherman. Plenty of good things about moving to Brisbane. Mate.
20 seconds.
I tell you what, I would love that. I
The
would love
Bronx.
that. Could you imagine him, Suncorp Stadium, charging down the sideline? That's what dreams are made of. That's what dreams are made of. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Now, we got 1,000 texts to get to, so make sure to text in 0457 736 736. And we are here for Chemist Warehouse. Head into Chemist Warehouse for great savings every day. Thanks to Chemist Warehouse for coming on board this year. We really appreciate it. Now, let's get into it. Also, you can call 1300 01 1170. Give us a text, as I said, 0457 736 736. On Twitter, give us a follow, Captain's Run, NRL. And also make sure to follow at SEN League on Instagram and TikTok. Now, let's talk about Sua'ali'i's move to rugby union. It's really been interesting to see. I honestly feel like there might even be a bit of a generational gap in regards to the reaction to this news. I feel like a lot of the people around my age are kind of like, yeah, you know, good on him, go do his thing, and you know, yeah, congratulations, and I can't wait to watch him in the World Cup. And then I feel like, and again, this is just an assumption, I've got no data to back this up, but from what I've seen, the older generation are very, you know, protect rugby league, protect NRL, let's not promote rugby union. But what are your thoughts on the whole Sua'ali'i situation, mate?
Yeah, look, I've been a little bit, I guess, one of a better word, a little bit more relaxed about the whole thing. The one positive is that we do have Joseph in our game for another season and a half at least, so we're going to see him improve, you know, for the rest of this year and next at least, and then he goes to rugby for his little stint. Hopefully he's only over there for that campaign leading into a World Cup year, and which he is involved in, and there's no doubt that's the reason why the AFU have shelled out so much money. Like, it's 1.6 a year.
Wow.
Huge money.
Macaroonies.
Huge money. That alone, Kempy, is extremely hard to pass up, that opportunity. $1.6 million. There's very few other places you'll get a chance to make that much money per year. It doesn't matter what you're doing, really. But to be playing a sport and getting 1.6, that's a pretty good payday. I'd like to think too, mate, that, you know, once he has that little stint over there, that we could possibly get him back into our game. Like, he's a young man. Like, he's still only 20, and by the time his deal with the ARU expires, if it does expire, we're talking, if he doesn't extend past that date, he'll still be 24.
Insane.
24 years of age. Like, it's, you know, so he'll be coming back to our game, you know, and I'm saying from a point of view of I'm hopeful. I really hope he does come back to the NRL. And when he does come back at 24, he's still a young man. I know players that debuted in the NRL at older stages of life than
Cody
24.
Walker, 26.
Cody Walker, yeah, of course. You know, so, you know, like, it's not the be all and end all. we've got Gus come out the other day and said, he should go now and, don't let the door hit you on the way out and all that sort of stuff. I get it. He's a passionate leaguey. We're all passionate leagueies. We all are. But this is a decision that Joseph's made. Good on him. He feels as though that's the best thing for his career. It might be, a great move for his family as well. We don't know the situation at home, but it's not. It's not just, I'll go and give this a go. Like, he's played rugby union before.
That's what I was going to say, Smithy. I was like, well, you could make the argument we stole him from union first.
Well, I actually think he grew up as a little boy playing league.
Yep.
Then he was recruited to Kings, the school in Western Sydney, and played rugby. So you're only allowed to play rugby. You're not allowed to, they don't let you play league. So he played rugby all through his, I think his senior schooling. So it's not a game that he's foreign to. And I think he also gets the opportunity to play a bit of fullback, maybe possibly outside centre. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see where the Wallabies use him. But, good on him. It's a challenge for him. We've seen it's not the first time we've had players go over to rugby union. When you think about guys that have gone over and excelled, Sonny Bill Williams, Lottie Dakiri, Wendell Saylor, Matt Rogers, one of the greatest converts that we've seen, play league and go to play union. I actually spoke with Matty only a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he actually played more union growing up than he did league. So he actually preferred rugby union over league, but he just got an opportunity early to play in the NRL. And it wasn't until the sort of, towards the end of his career where he got a chance to go over and represent the Wallabies and play in some of those big matches, before, coming back to league. So, hopefully, mate, I'll just reiterate, I'm fairly relaxed about, the whole situation. He's a young man. He's got a great opportunity to, do some really good things for himself in rugby union. Financially, he's more than sorted. And I just hope that we can see him back in the NRL once he's had his little stint over there.
Yeah, I agree, mate. As an Australian, I want as many good players playing for Australia in the World Cup. I do think also, if you're thinking about it in the mindset of NRL or rugby league versus rugby union, I think a lot of people are only thinking of the mindset where he goes to union, kills it, and everyone's going, "Oh, union's a better game because it's exciting now," and they went all the way to the World Cup. And I hate to be the negative Nancy, but there's a world where he goes over there, he hates it, and he leaves early, and that's an even better ad for rugby league because it's like you know what I mean? That's a possibility.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you got to think of it, from when you break it down, you look at where rugby union in Australia is coming from. Like, who can you name like more than 5 players in the Wallabies at the moment?
No,
it's very hard because they're not overly visible. They're not in your face. They're not on TV a lot. Compared to when we were sort of younger, when you're thinking of the great Wallaby sides that used to win Bledisloes and they used to go deep into World Cups and all that sort of stuff, they were household names. So maybe they're looking, the ARU are looking from a standpoint where they can. It's a commercial opportunity for them too. They've got this young man who's doing some great things in the NRL. He's well known in the league community. And maybe with him coming over to rugby union, that they can bring some eyeballs across to their sport, particularly going into those significant years of World Cups and there's a British and Irish Lions tour of Australia as well involved in that period of time. So maybe that's what they're looking to bring some some new eyes across to their sport, maybe some commercial opportunities, new sponsors, new money. It's all taken into account when they sign players like Joseph on big contracts, in the $1.6 million mark.
Oh, well, when you look at it and you go, if they spent $1.6 million in advertising, they wouldn't have got anywhere near the advertising they've already got in a week.
Exactly.
1 week, they have gotten millions and millions of dollars worth of advertising. They actually did, when Carmichael Hunt went to AFL, a lot of people were like, blown away by the money that was spent. And an independent group did some research on the value that it generated in media spend.
Yep.
They reckon they made their money back literally in the first week because of the exposure. Would
have been the same with Israel Folau going to GWS. Yep. Same thing.
Absolutely. Really interesting. I personally Good luck to him. I can't wait to watch him in the World Cup, and hopefully we go well in the World Cup. Now let's get to some. Oh, sorry, got someone.
No, I was just going to ask you, mate. Like, so what about? Are you okay with him now that he's signed? Are you okay with him playing State of Origin?
Yeah, I got no issue.
Because I'm just asking your opinion because I think a few people have said, well, if he's gone, like, why should he play Origin? We should be giving someone else an opportunity. But if his form's warranted and he's the best option for the Blues, then I guess he should be there, right?
Yeah, well, I see it like, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, obviously, having such a historied Origin career, but I see it as like, what's Origin really about? Yes, it is about rugby league, but it's about your state, representing your state.
Yeah.
And so, he is going to represent the country for rugby union, so I don't see the representing of where you're from is more important than the game, the vehicle in which you do it.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Smithy?
Well, yeah, from a fan, which I always have been, but now not playing the game. I hope he plays. It's great for our sport. It's great for the theatre of what Origin is. It builds up that rivalry, and Joseph is one of the best players in our game right now. So if he's available for the Blues and he's the best fit for the Blues, it's great to see. It'd be great to see him there. As a Queenslander, hope they don't pick him.
Mate,
do what Gus says.
body.
Turn your back on him. As a Queenslander.
Yeah,
as a
right,
Queenslander.
Gussie, I totally agree, mate. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Now we've got some texts here. Can the Eels get close to a premiership with Hodgson at 9? What do you reckon, Smithy?
Well, I was impressed with him in the first few games that they played, and they didn't win, of course, but they were thereabouts, and we've spoken how close they were. But I've been really impressed with the way he started the season. He's had a long layoff, like he's coming back from ACL, and not just one. He's had a couple in the space of a short time, like 3 or 4 years. 2 ACLs, it's always going to set you back a little bit, but it's not all on Josh Hodgson's shoulders. It's going to take a team effort. Fantastic win last weekend for them. Golden Point, Mitch Moses signs a contract, extends with the club, wins it for him in Golden Point with a beautiful field goal. They're a team that, when they're good, they're as good as any team in the comp. It's a new combination that they're building. I know they've had a preseason together, but he's a very different player to Reid Marnie. That spine and that group that's been there for quite some time. They're used to the way Reid Marnie played, so you can see some adjustments being made in their game, week to week. But to be fair, I think he started the season as well as he could have expected. I think he would have been happy with his own form. I'm certainly think he's been playing well. And if the team just gets it together and they can play consistent, good footy, then, they're a chance of being there again this year.
Another text here. Hey, Kempy, you sound so against rugby, but didn't you do a year of it in 2011 before Dragons? Did I sound... Apologies if I sounded against rugby. I thought I was being quite positive, saying it's totally cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I did spend a year in rugby. It wasn't for me, but... I'd got no issue with rugby. Hillstorm Hillary, no issue with rugby at all. Afternoon, fellas. Love the show. I very much look forward to the captain's run and mauling glory every week. Just after Cam's thoughts on the majestic return of Nicho Hynes and how the Sharks could go this year.
Oh, well, I was a little bit, I was pleasantly surprised, should I say that, Kempy, with his return. I had a couple of question marks over how good he was going to be, particularly with his ability to get around the ground. Calf injuries, as we know, they can hang around for a little bit, and even when you do start playing, they're just sort of in the back of your mind. But Nicho Hynes was outstanding. Playing against a Dragon side that didn't play all that well. He had a hand in, what was it, 3 or 4 tries, and he looked good. He looked ready to go. I think in his case, they may have held him back 1, maybe 2 weeks, I reckon, Kempy, just to make sure that he was tip-top and ready to go and just feeling, 100%. I don't think they rushed him back, particularly being the start of the year. If they may have been happy to concede a couple of losses without Nicho there, but just having him back in the side, you could see the players around him, particularly the guys, on the edges, they look super confident, super comfortable that their main man was back and pulling the strings.
Oh yeah, I thought it would take him a week or two to get back to his best, but geez Louise, straight away, it was incredible. Afternoon, Kempy and Go. On the Wighton situation, I think the Tigers are going to be the biggest player in the market for him, especially if they are making a move for George Williams. Then the spine could be solid. That's from Junior Smithy. Look, all due respect, and I really hope the Tigers can turn it around, but I personally think as a star player, you wouldn't want to be going there at the moment. No. It is, guys like Api Coruscant, Bateman, Papali'i have gone there, and it looks like business as usual, unfortunately. Now, hopefully it takes some time and they turn things around, but I can't see Jackie Wighton going there regardless of how much is offered him, because if he's going somewhere, he'd be winning a premiership, surely.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I agree. I think there's probably other clubs that are well and truly in front of the Tigers, but that's considering if there are teams out there, which I think there is. Like the Dolphins, I think we know have a bit of money to spend for next year. Parramatta are talking they need they're talking about a star outside back. That's the news we're hearing anyway. I think there's a handful of teams that would have their noses in front of the Tigers to try and secure Jackie Wighton's services.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Now, we're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to get to the holy schnitz moment of the week. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with the great Cameron Smith. Now, the holy schnitz. When did you yell holy schnitz this week, the great Smithy?
Oh, I yelled it a few times, Kempy, across the weekend because there was some great highlights across our great game over was it Thursday, Friday, 4 days? Is it 4 days? Yeah, it's 4 days. But one stood out above the rest. It was Nathan Cleary's 2-point field goal. When he was it 16-14 at the time. Siren sounded as the ball was travelling through the air to go into his hands, and he had 1,000 players running out to put pressure on him from the Parramatta Eels, but somehow he just snuck it through, and only the good players were able to find these small gaps on the field, and he just went bang from about 43 out, and it never looked like missing. As soon as it left his boot, just did not look like missing.
What a kick. What a kick. Now, mate, my holy schnitz moment.
Yes.
I had a couple, actually. I had two. Obviously, the Starks try. Yeah, that's the obvious one. But
okay.
I think a man's been robbed of glory this week, Smithy.
Yeah?
He's been robbed of glory.
Okay.
You just spoke of your man, Nathan Cleary, kicking the 40-metre field goal. But I want to talk about, there was a bloke that said, you know what, hold my beer. The great Frawley from the Canberra Raiders said, you're not the only bloke here around here who's got a boot on him.
Yep.
Before half-time, look, did they go on to lose? Yeah, they went on to lose and played pretty poorly. But it was still a great knock from the great Frawley. 2-pointer from the 40. So that's my holy schnitz moment of the week, mate.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Now,
what about that, though? Sorry, mate, to cut you off, but what about that?
Right.
Two 2-point field goals, and they still managed to lose, both teams. There you go.
Easy. That's actually, you know what? That'd be like a random stat.
That'd be a first.
Surely. Got that winning taste right now. Schnitz, handcrafted schnitzels. Made fresh and made just for you. Now, we've got some texts here. Hey, Beak and Smithy, what it's like when a mainstayer of your team announce they are hitting open market and want to leave? Do you try and convince them to stay out of it? What Smithy, obviously you're in a more of a position to talk about this.
Yeah, well, I guess you just stay out of it. It's their personal opinion. I think, particularly for a guy like Jack Wighton, as we spoke about earlier, he's been there for a long, long time. He's been a great servant of the club, and he's just exploring his options. I think, from my time at Melbourne, any time a player said, look, I'm going to look elsewhere or I'm going to test the open market, it was just, that's just the nature of our sport. It happens. Players move from team to team. Coaches at times move from team to team. And, I guess it's like every other industry out there where there's opportunities elsewhere to either change roles or find new challenges, whatever it is. We were always of the opinion that it was, up to the individual's decision. And, of course, we'd always like everyone to stay, but unfortunately life doesn't work that way at times and people move and you just get on with business.
Yeah, I mean, I always wasn't a senior player, so it's not like I guess, had much sway in speaking to people. But I remember I was pretty close with Israel Folau when he had that AFL decision to make.
Yep.
He was actually my centre and I was his winger, and he talked about it a lot and talked about how torn he was and, you know, how much he wanted to stay, but this would change his family's life. And I think from the outside looking in, because your number one priority is the team, you're just sitting there going, we want to win games, we want to win comps. But internally, although that is 100% the goal, as you said, Smithy, at the same time, these are your mates. Like, these are your guys that you've bled with. You want the best for them. Whatever is best for them, It's going to make you happy. So usually in these scenarios, most teams I've been in, people just respect their decision as a man to take care of their family and do what is best for them, really. And also, Jackie Wighton's got the runs on the board. It's not like we're talking about a prima donna here that's had a couple of good games and it's carrying on. We're talking about, does anyone really question Jackie Wighton's commitment? I don't think so.
No.
Now, hey, boys, love the show. Smithy, what would you do at the Dragons? Steve from Narellan.
We've
got about an hour and a half left, mate, so
I don't know. Do we have enough time, Kempy? I don't know. Well, if you listen to Ben Hunt, right, the skipper after the game on the weekend, he was extremely disappointed with their effort, and I think it's mainly around attitude, to be honest. It's all attitude based, and to leak that many points against the Sharkies, they played well, but when you're playing at this level, you got to have the ability to defend and really, have some resilience and have a bit of pride in what you toss out on the weekend to your fans, particularly when you're playing at home. I know it's a derby, it was a big game, and even with things happening off the field, distractions, all that sort of stuff, talk about the coach's future and whatnot, there's always something going on. Okay, Kempy, mate, you know yourself when you're playing in a row. There's always something going on, whether it be contract talks with players, coaches, form of the team, position on the ladder, who's coming up, who are you playing in the next fortnight and whatnot, injuries, all this type of stuff. If the Dragons just control what they can control, they'll be a lot better off. And just apply some positive attitude to their footy. Like at times things are going to go against you, okay? There'll be a try scored, you'll make an error, there'll be a call that you don't necessarily agree with. But the best thing to do is just go, righto, boys, what's our next job? Drop a ball, what's our next job? I've got to make tackles. Go make the tackles. Call goes against you, what do? Okay, let's defend our line, get the ball back, kick it long. You understand what I mean? Like things going off the field, your coach or your team, they're on the back page of the paper. Hey, can't control that, boys. That's out of our control. That's someone else's opinion. So let's control what we can control, and that's our preparation during the week, and us going out and playing our best footy on the weekend. That's where I would start. Yeah, that's where I would start.
I totally agree. And also, I echo your sentiments in regards to a positive attitude. Now, it's easy to say this, but I look at like a Rabbitohs team. They just look like they're enjoying their footy. I understand it's easy to say that because they're, stringing wins together to a degree. But when I look at the Dragons, I'm sure they're mates off the field like this. But if I was a coach, I'd just be trying to bring a bit of happiness and enthusiasm back into playing footy. Before they run on the field, they need to ask themselves an honest question. Boys, are we all keen to be here?
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing, and it sounds ridiculous, but when you look at the Dolphins and the squad they've got on paper, they're keen to be there.
Yeah,
they are keen to be there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big thing.
Man, and it's a good point you make. Like under the guidance of an experienced campaigner like Wayne Bennett, he gets it. He knows and he understands. Right, I get the best out of my players when they're enjoying being at training, they're enjoying competing, they're enjoying doing the tough stuff. The challenging stuff, the things that make them uncomfortable, that they're enjoying getting through those tough times. I think that's what you got to break it down to. And for myself, taking back to times in my career where you can get a little bit bogged down in stuff, right? You may not be playing that well individually, or the team may not be traveling as well as you'd like it to, but you just got to step back, take a breath, and go, hey, listen, I'm playing sport here. I'm playing footy. It's the game I love. It's the game I've played since I was a little boy. Let's just go out there and have fun, right? I know NRL is heavily results based and performance, and you got to go out and do that. But if you're not enjoying it, then it's highly unlikely you're going to go out and be at your best on the weekend.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to get to our round preview, plus our rising stars, thanks to Bailey Ladders. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We got some texts here. Smithy from Double P. Hey, boys, loving the show. I'm a tragic doggy supporter and love the fact that both the coach and captain didn't blame the dodgy obstruction call for their loss on the weekend. I felt that Baz blamed the refs too much when he was in charge. Just wondering how you guys have assessed the Dogs' first month, and also why did the GOAT try and bash poor little Reed in his final season?
I remember that. I got 10 in the bin. He got me a beauty.
Old
Reedy,
innocent little Reedy. He doesn't do anything wrong. He
wouldn't let go of me. Mate, I've kicked the ball. He's still got a hold of me 10 seconds later. Let go, mate. The pocket ref was there. The pocket ref was there. He's saying, Reed, let go. Reed, let go. He wouldn't let go. So I tried to get him off me. And he's like a little chihuahua, like just holding on to me. He's like nibbling up my... Anyway. And I ended up getting in trouble for it. Go figure. We won that game anyway, Kemp. We beat Para. What are we talking about? The doggies. Oh, yeah, the doggies. Yeah. So the dodgy call, for those that missed the game, it was when Sean Johnson went through. He showed the ball. Well, for starters, I think, Cameron Ciraldo, he would have been more disappointed about the show that one of their players took for Johnson to go through the line to start with. But for Newell Blake, I think it was, he continued his line outside Sean Johnson and was pretty much just standing in the defensive line. Reed Marnie, does he stop Sean Johnson? I don't think so, but you never know. If he sticks out his left mitt, whacks the ball, knocks it loose, it's a no try. Does he, get a hold of the footy and somehow miraculously hold him up? It's a no try. I feel he still would have scored, but it's just that has been an obstruction for the last however long I can remember. And that is, we talk about, black and white rules, and then we talk about using common sense and these obstruction stuff. That is as black as white as it is, Kempy. Like a support runner standing in the defensive line and, stopping a defensive player having an opportunity to make a tackle. I think for me that was anyway. That should have been changed, that decision, but it wasn't. And it's great to see publicly at least the coaching captain post game not having any bar of it. When asked about it, and they just said, we had our opportunities. We could have been better. We had chances to win the game. That wasn't the deciding factor. It shouldn't have been the deciding factor in the game. And we move on. But so far, they've been up and down. Like, they've showed that they can beat the good sides in the competition. But also, I guess at times they've looked a little bit clunky as well. The Grub Reynolds, though, Josh Reynolds. Oh, yeah. He's back. Pretty keen to see what impact he's going to have, Kempy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the Doggies are interesting because, as you said, they've shown glimpses. Now, the challenge for the Dogs is consistency. It's almost like, look, instead of playing a 9 out of 10 every second week and a 6 out of 10 every second week, how about we play 7.5 to 8 out of 10 every week, and we can build around that. And so it's just about consistency, which will come because they are a lot of new players, a new coach. It's going to take time for combinations to work together. And the positive for Doggies fans is there's positive signs. It's going to take time, though. Just be patient. Reed Marnie, Kyle Flanagan, Burton, and then you've got Hayes Perham. They've all never played together. These things take quite a while to gel, especially, and you might say, well, look at the Warriors, and they've got a new spine. The difference is Sean Johnson is a veteran, and also Wade Egan's been around there for quite a while at the Warriors. So I think the Doggies, exciting. Their main challenge going forward is the fact that they just need to be more consistent. They need to have those performances week in, week out. We've got some more texts here. Hey, guys, how good was it to see the mighty Rabbitohs grind out a win in a tight, low-scoring match? So happy for Lockie Ilias and hope he gets a lot of confidence out of the match-winning field goal. Smithy?
Yeah, no, I'm extremely happy for Lockie Ilias as well. He's playing the house down at the moment, and you can just see just another 12 months older, got 20-odd games under his belt last year, so he's more experienced as far as time on the field is concerned. He's doing some great things. They look pretty solid this year. I don't think they've been at their very best yet. I don't think we've seen the very best of, particularly the gun players. Like, we've seen moments of brilliance, from guys like Cody and Latrell, but I'm worried. I'm worried it could be this week. They're taking on the mighty Storm, so
Latrell gets up for them in big game
every time. Every time. But no, it's a great point. Like, it's great to see him tough out a real solid win. But Lockie Ilias, he's a good player and will be for a long time if he keeps on that sort of trajectory he's on at the moment.
I think that this is a really good example of what separates the top tier clubs from the clubs that are struggling. The Rabbitohs have a bunch of middle forwards out. Every reason to say, we got dominated and in the middle, but they have stayed and fought in every game they've been in. Whereas a lot of the clubs that, around mid-table, they just get blown off the park. And people, the fans, and I understand it, the fans are, they want to look for excuses for their team and they'll go, we're missing him.
Yep.
But it's like, well, okay, if you want to say to me, we couldn't score 24 points because we were missing out all our guns, I'll go, you know what? Yeah, attack is a lot of the time about not individual brilliance, but brilliance on the field. Defense, if you're in an NRL squad, is pretty much even across the board. Like, it's all attitude.
Yeah.
It's all attitude. And that's what I like from the Rabbitohs this year.
Yep. What about this one, Kempy? This is from the Don. Hey, Smithy, who's got the bigger beak? Is it Laurie Daly or Denning Kemp?
Oh, mate. Look, he's an OG beak.
You know what? I'm going to say Loz. I'm going to say Laurie Daly.
Really? Don't take that from me, Smithy. That's the one thing I got in this game.
Oh, okay.
Number one
well,
in the beak.
No, it's you.
There we go. Number one beak. There we go.
Yeah.
Look, I think Laurie Daly may have me for size, but I think for aerodynamics,
oh, mate.
Easy me.
Easily.
My face was moulded for aerodynamics.
Yeah, you cut the air, mate, much better than Laurie. Although Laurie, he had a little bit of pace. He had a fair bit of pace in his day, but, mate, nothing like you.
Mate, they
built for speed.
They were asking me to come be a bloody speed, one of the Tour de France slipstream guys at the front. There we go, Schnitzer here. Schnitties are here. Stop it. Oh, man, where's mine?
We might have to head to a break.
This is annoying. Anyway, we're going to head to a break. Hopefully my Schnitties arrive. And after the break, we'll talk about the young stars rising up the Bailey ladder. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Time now to see which young players are climbing up the Bailey ladder. Worksite trusted for over 60 years. Smithy, who's climbing up the Bailey ladder?
Yes, first nomination today, Kempy. Brendan Hands from the Eels. It was his debut game on the weekend at 23 years of age. 1 try, 1 line break, and made 27 tackles. So well done to Brendan. First grade debut at 23.
Zero tackles missed as well.
0 tackles missed. The coach will be very happy with that. That will help him get another start in first grade, not missing any tackles. Well done, mate. Second nomination, Will Warbrick on the wing for the Storm. Just his 4th game. I know he's played a little bit of rugby. He played sevens rugby for New Zealand. But the 24-year-old, he had 1 try, 2 line breaks, 5 tackle breaks, and ran for over 200 metres against the Tigers down there in Melbourne. And our last nomination is Alofiana Khan Pereira. Kempy, not sure if you've seen this young man on the weekend against the Cowboys, but he is fast. Now, you know what it's like to be very fast. But this man, that try, let's just go through his stats. 21 years of age, 2 tries, 5 line breaks, 6 tackle breaks, ran for over 180 metres. But that 1 try in particular I was talking about, he got the ball on the left-hand side of the field. He's about 25, roughly 25 metres out, and he, dead set, just pinned the ears when he's seen a little bit of space. And I can't remember, seeing a player cover that ground as fast as he did on the weekend.
Oh, man, his first 10 is quick.
Yeah.
Quick as anything.
Explosive. So if the Titans can just, consistently try and preserve some space for Khan Pereira on the outside, mate, they can come up with some points and he'll be extremely dangerous on the edge.
Reminds me of a young fox flying down the wing for the Storm. He was absolutely outstanding on the weekend. Only little thing with him, he just a few errors in his game that he could just clean up a little bit, and we might have one of our real excitement try machines on an edge for the GC Titans. Beta that is bringing safety and efficiency, the work site for over 60 years, and also your man Will Warbrick finally finding his groove. I know it's only been a few games, but I watched him in the trial, and I was like, wow, this kid could really impact the NRL. Then the first few games, I was like, uh-oh, maybe it's a bit too early, putting him in. He might need another year in reserve grade to just learn the role a bit. But I thought he was outstanding on the weekend. Outstanding.
No, very good. Very good. It's a good test for him this weekend as well.
Now, we got any text there, Smithy?
Yes, mate. We've got we've always got 1,000. We've got a lot today, actually. But hey, boys. Hey, Queensland's best ever player and Cam. Why do coaches, mate? This can be. You might give you insight here. Why do coaches persist with leaving players on the bench for 80 minutes without any game time? Is it game situational or strange tactics? Would love to hear your opinion because it's happened several times this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because sometimes it's just purely trust. You got a young player on the bench. He hasn't played much rugby league much NRL. And the game is in the balance, and the coach isn't sure whether he's going to go on and be able to do his job, or he's not going to make an error or whatever. And then other times it's tactics in the sense the game doesn't demand his body type or his play style. But I do believe that if they're picked on the bench, you got to get him out there. Surely you trust him enough to get him out there in most situations. What do you reckon, Smithy?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think maybe if it's a tight game and you're struggling to find an opportunity for that particular player to get on the field. I understand that. But if you think back to the round one game, Parramatta versus Melbourne, went to Golden Point. One of their, I think Makatoa, he didn't get on the field. So like in a game where it's played for longer than 80 minutes, and it was the first game of the year, first hit out of the season for all the players, and there was stages of that game where they looked absolutely spent. I would have thought that Makatoa would have found maybe, at least, a 10-minute spell somewhere.
Surely.
So some of the Jimmy Tamo, he sat on the bench against the Broncos the entire game, and they were in a position sort of as the game was starting to wind down, where they needed fresh legs on the field. The Cows, like they needed fresh men in the middle. To try and spark something. But, he sat on the bench the entire game. It's been some, sort of strange, probably the best way to describe it, some strange decisions to leave players on the bench without seeing any game time. But, there's sometimes there's reasons behind that for the coaches and, we move on. So we got another one here, mate, actually. Arvo Captain Smithy and the NRL's answer to George Clooney. Wow. And the bloke Beak. Broncos star, debutant, round 10-07. There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Got a question. This is about the Melbourne Storm, actually. Is there any chance Aaron Bellamy could take over from his dad? Or is it going to be Mark Bretnell more likely to, as I don't feel that Jason Riles is heading our way anytime soon? Well, look, I know Aaron quite well. He's got aspirations to be a head coach. Not sure whether he wants to be a head coach of an NRL team right now. So I highly doubt that he'll take over from Craig Bellamy. Still a little bit up in the air about what Craig's doing. He hasn't officially announced anything yet, whether he'll coach on past this year or whether he's going to finish up. But I think that is a wait and see topic.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We got plenty of texts here to get to before we head to the break, and then we get into our round 5 preview. Hey, Smithy, do you think there is a shortage of specialist dummy halves running around in the comp?
No, I don't actually. If just rattling some names off the top of my head, like you think of, Josh Hodgson for Para, Harry Grant at Storm, Damien Cook Rabbits, Marshall King Dolphins, Zach Wolford, although he's only a young man and he's only played a handful of games, he's an out-and-out number 9. Brandon Smith with the Chooks, he's a man that he said himself that he's a dummy half. So I don't think so. I don't think there's a shortage at all. You talk about the Brayley brothers as well at Newcastle and at Cronulla. No, I think we're covered for some specialist nines in the comp at the moment.
Roosters versus the Eels Thursday at Allianz Stadium, 8 o'clock New South Wales time, or Australian Eastern Daylight Savings time. Roosters team news. Joe Manu was out due to suspension. Drew Hutchison starts at the centre. Corey Allen joins the bench. Eels team news. Junior Paulo will miss the next 2 weeks due to suspension. Widamu Greg starts and Jack Murchie joins the bench. How do you see this one playing out, mate?
No, it's a good matchup again. Two of the heavyweights of the competition. Missing some key players, aren't they? And we're seeing a lot of suspensions early in the year. Probably more than what, off the top of my head, more than most previous seasons, I believe. But I think, Roosters, they're coming off a bye. I think they'll be fresh. Although the Eels, they had a tough one that one out. And sometimes that does a lot for your confidence, right? To tough one out. Golden Point victory. Mitch Moses now, contract negotiations, all that drama, that's gone. That's out the way. He can just now concentrate on footy and get him back on track and winning games for the club. But the Roosters, this is, I've been sort of umming and ahhing about this, all week. I'm actually leaning towards the Eels. I don't know if that surprises you, Kempy, but I'm actually leaning towards the Eels. I think it'll do them good. I know it's a huge out, Junior Bolo. He does so much good work for that footy side. Gets through a stack of hard stuff, with tackling and tough carries, but also, the really slight touches that he has of the football in and around the middle of the field when he's connecting with Mitch Moses and Dylan Brown in the middle. But I still feel that they can get one over the Roosters.
Yeah, look, I'm actually going to go the Roosters. I'm going to go the Roosters. I think that they won their match before the bye.
Mm-hmm.
Things are slowly clicking into gear for them. Joey Manu out. Yeah, that's an out. But look, you look at their back line, seriously.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's in and out, but compared to other clubs, it's not with who they can bring in regards to Sua'ali'i can pick up a lot of that slack. So I think the Roosters get the job done, but I just think the Roosters forward pack is so big and so aggressive. Without Junior Paulo through the middle there, it's just going to be really hard for the Eels to contain them.
If there's one area that I think Parramatta should look at attacking it is in and around Drew Hutchison. Now, he's a fantastic player. He's a very versatile player. And it's not the first time he's played centre. He's played there a fair bit. He's certainly capable. But I just feel defensively, if he feels as though he's under pressure or a little bit vulnerable out there on the edge, he tends to, try to, for the lack of speed that he has countering the opposition centre, he tries to jam a lot and come out of the line to cut off the play. So if they can, and I'm sure Brad Arthur and the coaching staff at Parramatta have looked at that, and particularly, someone like Mitch Moses, they would have looked at those opportunities in and around Drew. That's where I feel that Parramatta may be able to get some opportunities or some cracks in the Roosters' defence out on that edge.
Because he'll be on the right edge where Joe Manu's the right. So
yep.
That'll be Dylan Brown, I think.
Yeah, it might be Dylan. Yep.
Which is the last person you want to be jamming in on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Literally. So you're gonna have Brown there. Yeah, he'll have a back row punching hard in and around that space around Drew, with Gutho out the back, and we know that they've got sharp feet, but they've got really good hands on that left hand side of the field too, Parramatta. So it could be a real target for them Thursday night.
Now on to Raiders versus Panthers.
This will be a good game again. Raiders getting another opportunity at home in front of their faithful. I think Panthers too strong, considering Jack's out. Jack Wighton is out, suspended. Great to see Jared Croker named on the extended bench. How long since he played? Long time.
A year, season.
Long time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that his body sort of has let him down over the back part of his career. Been a wonderful player for Canberra for a long time. Sonny Luke, though, he's had a hot start to his career in first grade with the Penny Panthers. I think he's another big out. I think we'll see Tyrone Peachy spend a little bit of time at 9. with Mitch Kenny, of course, starting like he has done for the start of this year and the back end of last year with the Penrith Panthers for that final series. But yeah, I think Penrith will be much too strong for the Raiders. Although they've got this knack of dragging teams, particularly the quality footy sides, dragging them into this style of footy that just makes them uncomfortable. They've got a knack of doing it. They've done it for a long time, and Ricky's that type of coach, and we've seen it many times on the captain's run. He's got that ability to upset or get under the skin of the quality sides and take them away from what is their best footy.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Raiders, they just have this tendency, almost like a chip on their shoulder. They go to the big teams and say, how dare you think you're better than us, which you'd love to see it. That's what rugby league's all about. I will say, though, with the Raiders, I understand you can be traditionally slow starters. I understand that, that's just part of rugby league. Some people start slow, some people don't. But I think they've got to get moving soon, the Raiders. They can't afford to just be battling away. The only reason they made the 8 last year, yes, it was their form, for sure. Good on them for going on that late run. But it was more because the Broncos were terrible.
It was other results.
Yeah. And so you don't want to be in the position where you're basically, here he is. Brian Fletcher is walking in. He can't help himself. He's walked in the studio to pester me. We're talking about Raiders. We're talking about the Panthers, mate.
How's Smithy going?
Yeah, mate, he's great. He's absolutely great. Who wins, Raiders or Panthers? Panthers. By how much? 14, so it's 13 plus.
Are we allowed to do that?
He's had a little wager on it. Surely, Fletch. He's had a wager.
Any danger of you coming to Sydney?
Mate, the big dog doesn't come down to Sydney much.
Okay, I'm going to go now.
All right, thanks for that. That's a great Brian Fletcher. Thank you. Yeah, right, mate. No worries.
Nice mate, we should get him on. We should get him on one week.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Officially, rather than just walking in the middle of our show.
Absolutely, we've got to get the Fletch on. Absolutely. But I think the Panthers win, and I think they win well because the only concern, as you mentioned, was where do they get the creativity around the ruck? Hopefully, Peachy can give them that. But I think it's an opportunity for Cleary and Luai to say, okay, we don't have the same creativity. It's on us to make that creativity around the ruck.
Yeah, well, with Peach going on, as a utility 9, I think he'll just be looking to run the footy, Kempy. I think he'll just get his big forwards, Fisher, Harris and Big Moses, just say, hey, boys, just knock some defenders over for me, get some quick play balls, and I'm away. He likes that style of footy. He likes that unstructured ad-lib footy where he just gets the ball, takes off, and he's a strong ball carrier. And then guys like Luai and Cleary, they love that stuff too. They just like quick play the balls, away we go. Everyone pushing forward, run into space. We'll make the right decision with our passes.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at SEN League, Captain's Run NRL on Twitter, and also we're on TikTok at SEN League. But we've got the Rabbitohs versus Storm Friday 8 p.m. at a Course Stadium.
Yeah, this is a big test for the Storm. They got past the West Tigers, as we know, in Melbourne on the weekend, 24 points to 12. Still far from their best footy. I think Craig Bellamy was, he was much more pleased with their effort on the weekend compared to the previous week against the Titans, where he questioned whether they cared about their football. So it was good to see them bounce back with a performance that, wasn't pretty at times, but they toughed it out and got a win. The Rabbitohs, of course, they're going along nicely, but still, I don't believe. We mentioned earlier about the Rabbits. I don't think we've seen their best either, particularly from some of their key individuals. Like when you look at Cody Walker and when you look at Latrell, when they impose themselves on the game, they make such a difference. Such a difference to their footy side. Like everyone it looks like they just grow in confidence. They feel a foot taller, and they can go out there and do anything. But then at times you're like, hang on a minute, like I haven't seen them touch the ball for 5 minutes. I just don't know why they sort of float in and out of games the way they do because of, when they have so much influence on their footy side. Whereas you have a guy like Lachlan Ilias, like he is up on the ad line all the time, looking for the footy, wants the footy in his hands. So I still feel like those two guys they could have much more say on their performances, week to week. And that's why I said earlier, Kempy, about this one. I'm a little bit nervous about it because they are two players that love playing the big games, and this is a huge matchup against Melbourne.
Yeah, it's a massive matchup. I agree with you in regards to Trell and Cody. Like when they went on their grand final run, especially Cody, like he was in everything, absolutely everything. And you're right. It's as soon as they step into the game changes. It's almost like, and the power to have that, like to have that power as a player, it's rare. Like it's rare to be able to go, you know what, I need to change a game, and boom, the game changes.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, just looking at the individual matchups here, Jonah Pezzett, of course, he's wearing the number 7. Jerome Hughes, he's out for another week on the sideline. Of course, the Storm contested that late hit charge that he copped against the Titans. So he got an extra week. He got 2 weeks. So Pezzett takes the 7 jersey again. He's making some small improvements week on week. I thought his defence was a lot stronger last week. But he takes on Lockie Ilias. Another young man, he's got a few more games under his belt and a bit more experience. So that'll be a good test for Jonah. Walker and Munster, that's probably the best one of the whole game. But now looking at the forwards, sort of Cook and Harry Grant, both origin hookers, they pretty much cancel each other out. But maybe the Bunnies have a slight advantage in the forward pack, Kempy. When you look at particularly experience, like Christian Welsh and Tommy Burgess, cancel each other out. But then you look at the back row, Jacob Host and Kaloa Matangi versus, guys like Trent Liero and Eli Katoa. 2 young men for the Melbourne Storm playing in the back row, whereas those 2 guys, particularly Keon Kaloa Matangi, I think he's having such a great season, a great start to the season. Been really impressed with the way he's been playing. And then you add Cameron Murray, the captain at lock. Maybe that's a slight advantage to the Rabbitohs. And, of course, Latrell Mitchell at the back against Nick Meaney. Very few people can say that, they've sort of got one up on Latrell, but Nick Meaney will go out there and do his best. Look, I'm going to back Melbourne. They, too, enjoy these big matchups. Craig Bellamy, he loves challenging his footy sides when they're coming up, one of the big guns of the competition. They've had some pretty good results against the Rabbits up in Sydney. I think if you look over the last, and I know this team is a very different team to the past, but historically they've got some pretty good results against the Rabbitohs of late. So I'm going to back the Storm in, but if they are to win, I think it'll be quite a small margin.
Yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Storm and where they're at the moment, because in yesteryear, if there was injuries and all of that kind of stuff, you could always go, look at these young guys coming through and, the next big thing. And I know you've got guys like Holworth and Pezzett coming through, but, if I'm being totally honest, I've got to say, roster-wise, it's probably the weakest I've ever seen the Storm, and not weak in that they're not good players at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, compared to yesteryear, the top 30 for the Storm and the guys coming through were honestly like the next, Israel, Greg Inglis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I totally off the mark here, Smithy, or what are your thoughts?
No, mate, I tend to agree with you. I think if you look at the best lineup for the Storm, it's as good a side as any in the competition. They still have a host of players out with injury. And one of those, I think, that haven't really got too much of a mention, being Big Nelson Asofa Solomona. I think it's had a huge impact on that footy side with him not being in the team. They've had a couple of suspensions also that they've dealt with. But I do agree with you. I think if there's ever been a time where Storm has been vulnerable, it's been this year with the entire makeup of their squad. I think, when you're talking about, Storm teams of the past, if you looked at the top 17 or 18, it's a very good football side. But then the next, 10 players, they were walk up top 17 players at any other club. Whereas you look at, those guys at the Storm now, there's been a handful of guys that have been handed, their debut jerseys. They may have played 1 or 2 games either in previous seasons or at other clubs. So there's a lot of inexperience at that club at the moment. And over the last couple, it's sort of the squad average age is becoming younger and younger every year. So it's a very different looking side. And I made the comment early in the week, or it might have been end of last week, Kempy, that, the hardest thing for Melbourne right now is that, like, everyone, and even I do sometimes, you still judge this current, so the 2023 Melbourne Storm side on previous Storm teams. Just because of, they've been at the top of their game for so long, okay? But it's not fair on this group. It is entirely unfair on this group to judge them on, say, like the 2012 Storm, the 2017 Storm, the 2020 Storm. They were completely different sides that were full of experienced players. Whereas at the moment, yes, we've got some elite players still involved with the Melbourne Storm, but there's a lot of guys that are just starting out their career and learning about being what it means to be and what it takes to be regular first graders.
Yeah, great insight, Smithy. Great insight. Now let's head to the Sea Eagles versus the Knights. Saturday, 3 p.m. at Glen Willow Oval in Mudgee. So technically a home game for Manly, but, basically a away game for both. Sea Eagles, Morgan Harper replaces Tolu Kola at centre. Lachlan Croker returns at hooker. Carl Lawton moves to reserves. Jack Johns for Newcastle replaces Kurt Mann at lock, who was out with concussion. How do you see this game playing out?
It would have been good if Cooper Johns was playing for the Sea Eagles. It would have been brothers.
Stop
a
it.
match-up.
Put him on the edge too, right?
It just would have been a bit of a G-up. Although, no, Jack Johns, he doesn't muck around like Cooper. He gets in and has him. I'm only joking, Coops. He loves his footy as well. Look, I think Manly too strong in this one. I think Lachlan Croker coming back is huge for Manly. Although Carl Lawton he's done some great stuff for them with Lachlan out. He's been out with suspension. He has been an unsung hero for Manly over the last couple of years.
Massively.
Lachlan Croker, he's a good player. He just gets in and rips in and does some fantastic stuff for them. I know they've got some big name players, the Trebojevic brothers and DCE. But he is just as important to that footy side as those other players I mentioned. I think Manly in this one, mate. I just think they continue on. They just went down on the weekend, but prior to that, unbeaten. They've had a bye. They're still really fresh. I like the way Schuster's been playing. He's a crafty, skillful young man. I think Manly. This is a game for Manly that they, with all due respect to Newcastle, their preparation and their mindset for this one is, this is a game that we must win. Okay, and we do that by, whatever they've prepared to do with their game plan and whatever they've put together to try and pick apart Newcastle. But they need to approach this game like they're playing any other, like they would if they were playing Penrith or the Broncos or Storm or Rabbitohs, whatever it is. They need to go, hey, this game is a must-win for us. We need to go up there and win because, in turn, they get the 2 points for that. And then also it's good preparation for next week as well. I know we don't always like looking too far down the track, but they take on Penrith the week after. So they need to take some momentum and some confidence, as you mentioned, Kempy, into next week as well.
Absolutely. And just with the Knights, I think that the main thing they need to focus on is, it's going to be a tough challenge, but it's like what Wayne has said with the Dolphins all year is like, we are going to make every game a fight.
Yep.
Whatever we do, doesn't matter what the result is, it's going to be a fight.
Yep.
And I think that's what the Knights need to do.
Yeah, they just need to get out there. Like, they have nothing to lose. Like they're sitting 12th at the moment. I know we're still early days in the competition, but like you were mentioning, before with the Raiders, like, you can't wait too long in this comp to start putting some wins together. So no matter who they're playing, it shouldn't be about, we're playing this team or we're playing that team and we'll get up for that one and we should win this one. Hey, like, every game is, hey, boys, we need to be at our very best. Yep. So if we aren't to win it, whoever we are playing, we've made them earn it.
Yeah.
They don't just walk over us.
Absolutely. Now we're going to head to a break. After the break, we're going to talk Dragons, Dolphins, and Broncos, Tigers. Welcome back to the Captain's Run. The Schnitties have arrived.
I can hear it, Kempy.
Oh, beautiful,
I can hear
mate.
it in your voice.
Absolutely beautiful. Also, we are back thanks to Chemist Warehouse. Deals every day. Thank you to Chemist Warehouse for jumping in on board. But let's get straight into it, Smithy. The Dragons v. the Dolphins. Saturday, 5:30 p.m. at Wynn Stadium. Dragons, Jack DeBellum has been named in the extended squad. Could play his first game of the year. Dolphins, Isaiah Katoa, Milford, and the new halves with Sean O'Sullivan out with a pec. Debutant Jack Bostock replaces Tessie New on the wing. Jeremy Marshall-King returns to suspension. How do we see this playing out, Smithy?
Well, believe it or not, the Dragons are favourites for this one. Just slight favourites, I guess, being at home and with the Dolphins, missing still a handful of players. Felice Kafusi still out, of course. Big in, though, Jeremy Marshall-King. He's sat out the last couple of weeks due to suspension. I thought his start to the year was outstanding. Big reason why the Dolphins got away to such a good start, particularly against the Roosters. He absolutely carved that footy side apart. He set up 2 tries for the Dolphins. Dragons, though, I'd like to think that, when we touched on the Dragons earlier, mate, I'd like to think that they'd be pretty disappointed coming off last week's game and the way in which they played in particular. Forget the scoreline, forget all that. You can be embarrassed by scorelines, but they should be disappointed with the effort that they put in. And Ben Hunt, we spoke about that as well. The captain said as much. It just wasn't up to standard. It wasn't up to standard of NRL players that they dished out against the Sharkies. They get another opportunity at home. They're playing at Wynn Stadium, which I think they do prefer to play at for some reason, this footy side. And if there's ever an opportunity to knock off a team, sitting in the top 4, I think the Dragons, this might be the week for them with, Katoa, Milford, new combination, playing in the half. Sean O'Sullivan been so influential as well for the Dolphins in the first month. He's out, as we know, for an extended period of time with his injured pectoral muscle. And Tessie New, of course, with the knee injury as well. So big stat for this game, though, boys. Big one for the Dolphins. It's their captain, Jesse Bromwich. It's his 300th NRL game.
Wow.
So that's, it's, putting milestones aside, you want to go out there and play well every time you get an opportunity to get on the ground and play. But, I'm sure all the players, and I'm almost certain that Wayne would have touched on the occasion, that is 300 games for Jesse. There's very few players, when you think about the amount of people that have played our great game, very few players have had the opportunity to play 300.
It's honestly, it's almost like an honesty game for the Dragons because they're playing a Dolphin side that's down on troops. And basically, there's no excuse of, our roster isn't as good. And because a lot of the knock on the Dragons is an aging roster and rah-rah.
Yeah.
Whereas the Dragons, if they go into this game and they can't manage to win, it is 100% evidence that is pure attitude and the mentality that they're going in with. Because on paper, they are better than this Dolphin side. And this Dolphin side has shown the rest of the NRL that on paper, you may not need all the superstars like other teams. It's just about ripping in for each other. And so it's like, it's almost, I know it's a must win for the Dragons because what happened last week, but it's almost an honesty game for them to say, how fair dinkum are we here, guys? Because seriously, we should not be getting beaten by a new club with this many outs.
Yeah, that's right. And for the Dragons, they almost, each player needs to take it personally. So they need to sit down and have a look at the team sheets, the team list of the opposition and go, right, who am I matched up with? And will he, at the end of the game, have played a better game than I have? Will I outplay him or will he outplay me? And the more players on the Dragons side that can finish the game having outplayed their opposition, you would think that gets them a victory. Like you said, mate, this is a week for them to be upfront and honest with themselves and say, I'm going to take this personal. I'm going to go out there and outplay my opposing player.
And, on the Dolphin side of things, it's, look, what a test it is for them right now. Seriously, I think they've done better than anyone could have expected, even with the outs that they've had. Jeremy Marshall-King out, Kafusi out. Last week, they were incredible to stay in the game. But it's just about All right, boys. Okay, we've got a bunch of outs,
Yep.
but what is the standard that we are trying to set for the year?
Yeah, mate. I don't think they changed their mindset at all to what we've seen in the first couple of weeks, particularly like when Felice was ruled out. Right, there's a big brouhaha about him not being there and how that's going to affect the side. Wayne Bennett started the message the first day when he did a press conference the day after Felice was ruled out. He just said, "Look, he's got 4 weeks. We understand that, so we got to get on with what we can control. We got to get on with playing footy. We know he's not here for the next month. We've accepted that, so we just got to do what we can with the players that we have." So I believe that you'll see a very similar performance from the Dolphins this weekend to what we've seen in the first 4 weeks.
Now on to Broncos versus Tigers. Now, the Broncos might be sitting at the top of the table, Smithy.
Yes.
They've had no changes this week. No changes to the starting 13 for Tigers, except Dane Laurie, Seyfarth and Sean Bloor drop off the bench. Jake Simpkin, Matamua and Toa join the bench. Now, the Broncos are in... It's great. They've started the year. They're 4 from 4.
Yep.
But if you actually watch the games and see their completion rate, see the fact that they don't build pressure early in games, see the fact that for 70 minutes the Dragons were in it, for 75 minutes to 78 minutes, the Dolphins could have won it.
Yes. Yeah, mate, I tend to agree with you because I worked on that game last week, the Dolphins and the Broncos, and it was a wonderful occasion, 51,500 people. But on the performance alone, the Broncos, they're flying high at the moment. Okay, they're flying high. They're unbeaten. They're sitting at the top of the ladder. They haven't had that number one position for a long, long time in the NRL comp. Now, we are only a month in, but we've spoken about this many times, haven't we? Winning, right, and putting together clumps of wins at times can mask a few little things in your game that you're not doing so well. And if you look at that game on the weekend, so Tessinu does his medial about 10 minutes into the game. He stays on the field, plays out 70 minutes, pretty much on one leg. They then lose Nikorima in the first half. He comes on and replaces Teague at 9. Cops a facial injury, I think, from Katoni Staggs. Goes off the field, doesn't return. So they're down to 16 men. Let's call it 15 and a half with Tessie News one leg. They then lose O'Sullivan in the most crucial part of the game. What was it, about 10 minutes to go? I think he come off with a pec injury. Milford was playing his very first game of the year in first grade as well. And yet it took him until the last minute of the game to get a fortunate bounce for Katoni Staggs, not taking anything away from Katoni, with his effort to beat 3 or 4 defenders and run the length of the field. It took them that long to do it. Now, a lot of people would say, well, look, it's a tough effort. They hung in there. But the thing that I think we're trying to get to here is that, I think it's important that the Broncos footy side need to acknowledge some of the things that they aren't doing so well also to be able to rectify that. Because like you said, when you're winning and you're winning and you're winning, sometimes you're just like, oh, yep, that little play there, that doesn't matter, or that little effort where I stopped running and that player made a bit of a half break. We made a tackle, that doesn't matter. That does catch up with you. And what it does do, it creates bad habits. So I think when you break it down that way, outside of just looking at the result overall, I think when you break it down, maybe Broncos aren't travelling as well as everyone thinks they are. Although the one thing you cannot take away from them is that they're winning.
Yeah,
they're winning. Okay, they're winning. They're sitting atop the ladder, and that's a great spot to be. There's 16 other footy sides that would love to be where they are right now, but there's thing you've got to constantly be on top of your game, and you always got to be, no matter the results, you got to be looking for those things that you're not so good at and trying to improve them every week.
The exciting thing for Broncos is if it does click, all of a sudden we're premiership threats.
Yeah. What about your bogey team? Tigers.
No, the Tigers are a bogey team. Oh, man, please don't do it to us.
If it clicks, can they beat the Broncos?
I think so for sure. Look, last year we were flying high. I think we'd just beaten the Eels, doing everything right, and then boom, Tigers came up to Suncorp. that won the Spoon last year
That's
and
right.
beat us by a substantial margin. So
Yep.
very, very. It's not going to be as simple as us rocking up and just getting the victory. We're going to head to a break. After the break, we've got Sharks versus Warriors and Doggies versus the Cowboys. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. Sharkies v the Warriors, Sunday, 4 p.m. at PointsBet Stadium. Trindle replaces Oregon Kofusi on the bench, who is out with concussion. Warriors team news, Ronald Volkman replaces Tomato Martin in the halves, who is out with concussion. Wade Egan returns from concussion, and Freddie Lussick moves to the reserves. How do you see this game playing, Smithy?
I've got the Sharkies winning this one, mate. As impressed as I've been with the Warriors, they've probably been. Let's just take the Dolphins out of the equation. I think the Warriors, for me, have been the most impressive team to start the year. Have been very good. Even in the game that they lost, I think they were well and truly in it. I've seen some great things. They look happy and settled, don't they?
Yeah.
You can tell that they're back home and they're around their family and friends and they're in their own beds. The staffers, they'd be getting, they'd be doing much better work with the players too, being at home and being settled. Packed house, as I said the other week, in front of their home friends in Auckland. I just think the Sharkies, though, with the mayor of the Shire, Nico Hines, pulling the strings once again, I just think they might be a little bit too strong for the Warriors. Although this is a good game on paper, it's a good matchups all over the place. 4th, the Warriors v 6th, the Sharks. I think Sharkies at home.
Now, on to the Bulldogs versus Cowboys. Who you got here, mate?
Look, I think I've got the Bulldogs because they're at home
quick.
and there's so many changes with the Cowboys. Tuolangi, Tamau, Shibasaki, they're all out due to injury. Of course, Jeremiah Nanai, classy back rower, young back rower, he's out with suspension. Helam Lukey starting at back row, he's a good young player. And Riley Price, young back rower with the Cowboys. Of course, his old man, Steve Price, Queensland legend. He'll be making his debut, I think, off the bench. So big game for Riley. Hope he goes well. I think the Doggies at home, though. Too strong.
Okay. Now, that was our round preview. Thanks to Game Day Squad. Create, coach, and compete in fantasy footy. Be the coach and win. Play now. After the break, we'll share our sure things for picks for round 5. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith and myself. Let's now share our sure thing for Sure Hire, the temporary work experts. surehire.com.au. What's your sure thing this week, mate?
Can be. I am going to go the Bulldogs against the Cowboys at home. Sunday, 6 o'clock they are, so that's my sure thing, the Doggies.
I am going to go. See, look, I put the mocker on the Storm enough.
All right.
Got you a few losses, which is great from my perspective.
Yeah.
So now I'm going the Rabbitohs.
No.
Sure thing, the Rabbitohs. Up the Rabbitohs. Get the win on the weekend.
Good on you, mate.
Shore Hire Australia, most complete shoring, propping, and traffic product range. Call 1300 Shore Hire. Thank you to everyone listening this week. Make sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify, on Instagram. Make sure to download the app, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.